Hey everyone, welcome to another Croc Chat podcast episode. Today we're going to be chatting with crocodile biologist Joe Wasilewski. Joe is going to tell us about his role in crocodile conservation, not only here in the US, but also in other countries throughout the range of the American crocodile. We'll also talk about some of the other reptiles he works with and projects that involve them. But first, I have to give a big shout out and thank you to rodentpro.com. As always, they provide me with quality whole food items for all my reptile needs, as well as being a sponsor for Croc Chat. Now let's go ahead and talk with Joe. I'm Mark Perpetua. This is Croc Chat.
Yep.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another special interview episode of Croc Chat. Today I have the privilege of chatting with crocodile biologist and conservationist Joe Wasilewski. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we're glad you appreciate it. I believe that anybody who's into croc biology, anybody who's done any reading or studying of the topic, they should already know your name. But for those who don't, could you please just give us a quick history or background of your work with crocodiles?
Okay, well, the first thing I'll tell you is it's my fault. I don't publish a lot. I've been around crocodiles and working with them professionally for well over 40 years. I've got a few publications out there, but that isn't my main goal. And I work in over 30 different countries with not only crocodiles, but other reptile species. I work with Cyclura species all over the Caribbean. Believe it or not, I work with king cobras, not only in India, but several other countries. I belong to a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to the conservation of king cobras, believe it or not. I work with a crocodile sanctuary in Jamaica that I'm very proud of. That's one of our crowning jewels, however you want to call that. I just have been working with crocodiles for, like I said, over 40 years. So, wait, where was I? Where was it? What was the question? I didn't put my phone on. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All right. I got it on silent now. Okay. Sorry.
That's fine. So you've been working with crocs for a long time. Obviously, other reptiles as well. Most of us have an interest in all reptiles.
Sure.
What drew you to crocs? Was that something from the very beginning when you were very young?
Yeah, well, I'm an old timer, and I grew up, believe it or not, in the 50s and 60s, and there wasn't much literature about crocodiles or reptiles in general back then. And I grew up in the streets of Chicago, and all I had was a library and two zoos to look at reptiles. And then as I grew up, I learned how to sneak off on the railroad tracks and catch garter snakes, and then graduated from there all the way to king cobras. So this is something that's been in my blood since I can remember. My earliest days are I was fascinated with dinosaurs, and what better of an animal to study than a crocodile that's literally a modern dinosaur.
I don't know a current person in herpetology, reptiles, that didn't have that first interest with dinosaurs. I grew up in upstate New York. I'm still in upstate New York, so I'm kind of in the same situation, but I haven't made that move yet to live with and work with crocodilians at the capacity you have. So that's an interesting way of getting there. So you say you haven't published a lot and you've been around for a while, but given that I'm kind of an old timer too, same story, just, the library, whatever publications were out there, and the Nat Geographic specials. I mention your name because I remember learning your name when I was younger and first getting into reptiles. So that's why I made that that compliment.
Okay.
People should know you. Your name has been out there for a while,
Yeah, but
especially
people forget too.
people, especially your work at FPL and Turkey Point. That is one that probably brought your name to me the earliest.
Yeah. Back, I started. Actually, if you had a couple minutes, I could tell you a quick story of how I
We got
got.
all the time you need.
Okay, I did a population study in Shark Valley, an alligator population study in Shark Valley, Everglades National Park, along with my professor George Dalrymple, and we worked 8, 9 years. It's a 7 mile road straight out in the Everglades to a 60-foot tower and a 7 mile road back. And we caught over 1,000 alligators in 8 years, never even had a boat.
Wow.
Anyway, on one of the trips, George had an employee that was working at Turkey Point with the crocs. And this was 1989. And he said, well, he said, we got hatching season coming up, and I'm the only one that can drive an airboat. And he said, we need somebody, for 6 weeks to help me drive an airboat and catch crocs. And I'm like, I'm in the back seat, like, hey, hey. So anyway, they hired me. And at the end of 6 weeks, I didn't say anything. They didn't say anything. And I kept working. And I was there 30 years. So six
That's
weeks turned into 30 years. And let me tell you, I wanted to know every single thing about American crocs. And I pinched myself that I was getting paid to investigate this. And I still feel that way to this day. And I learned so much about those animals.
that's an interesting way of getting that job in terms of just stepping right into it and never having to stop. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so again, for people who might not know, Turkey Point is a nuclear power plant, South Biscayne, southeastern Florida, Biscayne Bay. And it's a really interesting connection that a power plant, FPL, Florida Power and Lights, are going to hire crocodile biologists. So tell us a little bit about that connection between crocodiles and a power plant.
Yeah, well, the cool thing about it is FPL, Florida Power and Lights, doing this on their own nickel. Um, they built this cooling canal system to cool the two nuclear reactors, and came online about 1971. And it's a series of 5 miles long of north and south canals that are all about 3 feet deep, 32 canals on the west side. And the water flows from the reactors west to these canals, which it flows to the south to a collecting canal, back to the east, and 6 canals taking it. So it's like a radiator in a car. It's a closed system. And what the engineers would tell me every day is, we didn't build this place to help crocodiles. We built this place to produce electricity. Okay, that's fine. We all need it. However, the crocs don't read the books we do. And in 76, the first crocodile was observed there. And because it's right on Biscayne Bay. Anybody here can Google South Florida, and actually it's a structure you could see from space.
And it looks like the car
Yeah, it
radiator
does. Yeah,
described
yeah.
when you're on
So
Google Earth.
I would advise anybody who'd like to just check it out.
I'm going to put a map up of that when I
Okay,
edit.
cool. Uh, where was I? So it's 6,500 acres. It's a super saline system, which means the sea, which is adjacent to the sea, it's 100 meters or less, 50 meters from the ocean. The average salinity of the ocean is 35 parts per thousand. Turkey Point's canal system was about mid 60s.
Oh, wow.
So what happened in 1978? They were clearing these berms. There's canal berm, and so on and so forth. And the berms are high raised. And what happened is the backhoe was cleaning the berm and came and opened a crocodile nest by accident. They didn't know it was there. And Fish and Wildlife Service stepped in, and I think they fined them or slapped them on the wrist or something. It was not intentional. And from that day forward, Florida Power and Light developed this this oversight of crocodiles. It's kind of a population study, and the main focus is on nesting and how many nests, and I could show you a graph over the years at how it's increased. And this past year, which just ended the nesting season, I think there was 29 or 30 nests with over 600 hatchlings.
Wow, that was supposed to be the most, right?
That's the most, yeah, and which makes perfect sense because every year it should increase. So back then, we didn't know much about American crocs, and I don't know if a lot of people don't know this, but American crocodiles, when they hatch from the egg, even though they live in estuarine and salt water, they don't have salt excreting glands. That takes 2 or 3 months to develop. So the crocodiles need fresh water. American crocodiles need a freshwater source, or let me put it, a less saline source to develop this salt excreting gland. And historically, as you know, American crocs are found in 16 different countries. Historically, the crocodiles deposit their eggs in the dry season, and they hatch at the height of the rainy season, when the salinity along the coast is lower and there's a freshwater lens after a big rain. So all of these factors lead to the development of the salt excreting gland. And I found this, who was it? Dunson and Ellis published this in the 70s or 80s, this particular fact about the gland. And I didn't need to look at any publications because, like I said, I would go every square inch. And I saw these drags on a road into a freshwater canal, and I looked and I saw eggshells there. And what I deduced from my investigative abilities is that there was a nest that hatched over there somewhere on an island where the female swam across, crawled across this road, and deposited the babies in the freshwater canal. And that started this whole thing. And that was before GPS and Google Earth. But we knew there was different, we'd had aerials of this system, and we knew there was like little freshwater ponds. And I went, and every single pond that I went to had either a nest or some or hatchlings in it. So we learned a lot from that.
No, that's so. When you say you saw the drags, then that was obviously a bigger crocodile. So the mother,
oh yeah,
was actually picking up the babies, carrying them in her mouth, and knew to bring them to fresh water.
That's the only way that would be. She had the eggs and the babies in her mouth. I mean, well, subsequent to that, in fact, as you all know, we have great motion cameras these days, game trail cameras, and we put cameras out at the croc nests now. And well, actually, I'll give you a little tip. Mike Lorette is the one who took over for me at Turkey Point. And what I like about having this younger generation come in is they're taking what I've learned and going steps further. Like I used to put these cameras, they're a pain in the neck, 8 batteries, and every blade of grass that moves is a picture. So you got to go through 4,000 pictures to see. Nowadays, Mike has these cameras that are hooked up to your phone system, like Verizon or AT&T, and there's some kind of way you could do it, a method where Mike gets live to the minute things that are happening. Like when she comes to the nest to hatch the nest, he knows it. So he knows I'm going to that nest tomorrow. Where I had to go to each and every one every day in the hatching season to see if they hatched. He's got it perfected, and you maybe should have him come on your show and tell you how they perfected what we did.
Yeah, I have contacted Mike once before. That was a more of a written interview. But yeah, he's one of the people I plan on contacting
Good.
to see what's
Okay.
going on currently at Turkey Point. But speaking of the history, while we still have your work to talk about,
Okay.
not only were the crocodiles there, but it also was playing a very important role in their conservation. I mean, how rare were the crocodiles in '76, and how did
Okay.
Turkey Point play a role in helping?
Well, if you or your any of your followers or whatever you would call them, what do you call them? Subscribers? I don't even know.
Subscribers, followers.
Okay. Uh, if you will look, go back into the annals of National Geographic, there's it's 76, I'm not sure of the year, where it evaluated each species of crocodiles. At the time, there was 23. And it said, this was mid 70s, it said by the year 2000, all of these should become extinct. American crocodiles was right up there. And the population at that time of non-hatchlings was estimated between 150 and 300. That's it.
In just South Florida.
In Florida, sorry, yes, in South Florida. They're found in 16 different countries. I've worked in about 5 of them. We won't go there. Let's stay with Florida right now. What happened was now after the fact we can understand. If you look at the geography of Florida, it's perfectly flat. My house, I'm one of the highest elevations in Florida, in South Florida, and I'm at 11 feet, just for your information. So what happened was the population, Dave Rodriguez was the geneticist, bottlenecked, that's the word. The population bottlenecked, and there was very few nests in the national park, because if you look at Florida and you look at what happened in the 40s and 50s, is they built 2 roads that go east to west, Miami to Naples. One of them is Alligator Alley. One of them is the Tamiami Trail. Well, remember what I talked about, freshwater and how the hatchlings have to have it. Well, what happened was the Everglades is made up from Kissimmee River Basin, and the rainy season overflows into Lake Okeechobee, which overflows into the Shark River Slough, which flows into Florida Bay. Now, if you cut that, you're cutting the freshwater flow, literally. So the roads were built in the 40s and 50s, and the 60s and 70s is when the trouble, when the water was too saline and there was no recruitment. The hatchlings couldn't survive. Well, along comes Turkey Point in 71, 72, first nest I said in 78, and it has the perfect resources for their natural lifestyle. It has high berms with substrate that drains so they could deposit their eggs. It's a combination of peat, marl, sand, and soil, perfect for nesting. They're high above the water. There's no tide there, so they don't have to worry about flooding, and it drains from the rain. I mentioned the females are very attentive to the nest, and now we have these less than saline water. They're not quite fresh, but they're not saline. They're about 10 points per 1,000, which is perfect to develop this gland. So they bottlenecked 150 to 300. Up comes Turkey Point's cooling canals. The crocs started nesting in 78. And here we are in 2025, 50 years later, so to speak. And we've got 30 nests that are successful there. So little by little, they came back. And Florida Power and Light is definitely on the leading edge of the main reason why American crocodiles were downlisted from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service from endangered species to threatened species in April of 07. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yes, that one.
Well, maybe somebody didn't. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to say I know everything, but I
No,
like to
nor
believe
do I.
I keep up on our especially our native crocodilians here in the U.S.
Good.
But so the population is expanding, and is it like?
So currently, um, another thing, the Croc Docs, University Frank
Mhm.
Mazzotti's University of Florida people, they work with the Crocs in Florida Bay, Everglades National Park. I think there was over 100 nests this year. So crocodiles, because of conservation efforts and because of Florida Power and Light, they were downlisted. And right now, we estimate the Florida population to be the same as historic levels, which is about 2,000 non-hatchlings.
That's an
However,
amazing increase.
but that's 2,000. But I'm talking early 1900s, late 1800s, and right now there's a hell of a lot less habitat for them
Mhm.
because south they only nest on sandy, sunny, secluded beaches in South Florida. Now you tell me what else like sandy, sunny, secluded beaches in South Florida?
Our species,
Developers.
human beings, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a hell of a lot less habitat for them. Um, and the 6,500 acre cooling canal system certainly provides all the ingredients for their natural history.
Yes.
So,
It's amazing that maybe it's because their numbers are increasing and they were so low early on that I find a lot of people, at least online, still don't believe or understand we do have a native crocodile species in
right.
the US. And then those that do know, they constantly call them saltwater crocs, which of course to
I cringe when they do.
okay, you do too. Good. I thought it was just me because I live too
No,
far
no.
north and my knowledge of their
Oh, I
names
know
only comes through
saltwater
books,
crocs. Yeah.
but
Complete apples and oranges, completely different animal.
when you look at their actual species name. But I got to
Yes.
admit, I said this to Marissa in our talk a couple of days ago as well. When I, as a New Yorker, try to educate or correct a Floridian, stay up
Yeah.
north, don't come down here, leave me alone. So, anyway, so you mentioned you work obviously outside of Florida as well, many other countries. Is it still mostly with American crocodiles throughout their range?
Um, I did a population survey in Costa Rica in the Osa Peninsula, I guess the early 2000s. I've gone back and forth to Cuba to this day, and I work with them a little bit there. I work with them and Jamaica. I've been going to Jamaica for 25 years. I began working with the very rare, probably the rarest vertebrate in the world, the Jamaican iguana, and that morphed into a big crocodile, American crocodile survey study. And we have a permanent place in Jamaica, a sanctuary, crocodile sanctuary, that we have about 24 adults. Um, we take in, of course, Jamaica is the same thing as Florida. Their beaches are being taken over by developers, and there's conflict with crocodiles and people, and sometimes the crocodiles lose, and so we have to take them out of the population, and we have a safe place to put them. So, um, so yes, I've been working off, and then let me see, Costa Rica, Cuba, Jamaica, and we're going to be going into a couple other Central American countries now to do some surveys. So,
That
mhm.
leads me then to another question that you might be the perfect person to ask. I recently read a paper where there were two populations. I think Cozumel is one of them, but two islands off of the Yucatan,
Okay.
and somebody's trying to describe these populations as actual separate species.
Um, yes, I did hear that. I will be going to a conference next week in El Salvador, a crocodile specialist group regional meeting. And I hope those people are there so they can explain that to me. I've been involved with American crocodile genetics since my first day of working with them. And is there, if you look at their range, I wish we had a map of that. I could show you how widespread. They're from South Florida through the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America, both coasts, down to Peru.
Yeah.
Um,
I have a
and,
range map. I'll put that in too. That
oh,
was
good. Yeah, put a
used in my
range map
book.
in. And with an animal with such a wide range, you would think there's subpopulations or distinct species, which there may be. I also, come to think of it, I've worked with crocs in Mexico as well. I forgot about a project there. To me, and this is just to me, there may be another species of Crocodilus acutus, but every one I've seen in every country I've seen looks the same, acts the same. All of the natural history aspects are the same. Maybe they don't have a ribosome or whatever they geneticists call it. I don't know how they do it, but from what I see, they're the same.
Yeah, the field of genetics is still so new. When I
Right.
went to college, my genetics classes were very
Fruit
simple
flies.
compared to what I even have to teach at a high school level now with fingerprinting and electrophoresis. So
Right.
I myself have no idea where the delineation is in the DNA that makes a population or a
Right.
separate population that we thought were the same. I mean, how deep are we going? I
And
don't know.
and if you think about something, um, like I said, the wide range that acutus has, if there's an isolated population over millennia, sure, they might have their
Hmm.
own rDNA or something that's different, but does that make them a different animal? That's
Right.
my question. And that's, you mentioned already that geneticists, or the science of genetics is such a new science that we're still learning. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. So outside of the work with the American crocodiles, you mentioned iguanas a couple times. I happen to be a huge iguana fan myself.
Okay.
I have a Cuban iguana and several green iguanas in my
Okay.
collection. Started at 10 years old in 1978 with an
Yeah.
iguana. Probably not the best thing for a 10-year-old by today's standards, but what is it you're doing with iguanas?
Oh, geez, I've been working with the Cyclura species in the Caribbean since the 90s. And I was at the first, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. It's a volunteer group in Glen, Sweden, is the headquarters, and it's thousands of volunteer individuals that are dedicated to conserving a certain species. And there's different groups. There's an iguana specialist group, a crocodile specialist group, I'm sure the hippopotamus group, a bat group. All everyone has their own sort of leaders. And
Mhm.
I belong to the iguana specialist group and the crocodile specialist group. And through the years, I've worked with every single Cyclura species. There's 16 of them. Some people say there's 15, but a geneticist says there's not. Um, um, anyway, and I have photos of all 16 in their natural habitat. And I mean, Grand Cayman has a blue one that's amazing. My favorite one is probably Andros Island. I could send you some pictures if you can kind of put some of
Oh
them
yeah,
up.
definitely. I was going to ask you that at the very end.
These are iguanas that the regular public just, number one, doesn't see or doesn't even know about.
Doesn't even know they exist.
Yeah, and the Bahamas itself has 7 different taxa of Cyclura, believe it or not.
But
So,
that one I did not know.
yep, there's 3 in Exuma, 1 in Crooked Island, 1 on San Salvador, 1 on Andros, and 1 on Maguana. And I've been to all of them on many times.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well traveled. And speaking of well traveled, then most of that work, even with the crocodiles and the iguanas, is in the Caribbean area. But you also work with the King Cobra
Yes.
Conservancy, which is going to take us all the way to the other side of the world now.
Well, I began this quote unquote professional career in 1973. While I was still in the U.S. Army, I got a job at the Miami Serpentarium under the tutelage of Bill Haast. I don't know if anybody remembers him because people do forget, but Bill Haast was a pioneer in our industry, and he was a venom producer, and he sold venom, and there's a lot of pharmaceutical drugs that are made nowadays from snake venom that are helping people diabetes, type 2 diabetes, Gila monster venom.
Mm-hmm.
Copra, pygmy rattlesnakes they're using for some form of breast cancer. And I could go on and on. That's easy to Google. So I was fascinated with venomous snakes. And through the years, I worked there 4 years. About 5 or 6 years ago, I reconnected with Shanti and Naya Haast, the daughters of Bill Haast. They wanted to do something to honor their father. So they started a nonprofit organization called the King Cobra Conservancy. And I think it's kingcobra.org. Check it out. And I'm the vice president. But I don't know if you guys heard of this guy who would be a great one to interview, if he even would, is Romulus Whitaker. I don't know if you guys heard of him, but
You're bringing back all the old guys from my childhood.
well,
So
that's what I'm an
Bill,
old timer, and I don't know.
And Rom is definitely one I was going to ask you about if it was off camera, but you brought him up. So yes, I'm definitely going to ask you if you have any contact information for both Gharial and Cobra.
In fact, you just said something that's kind of funny to me. Is I'm bringing up all the old timers, these pioneers, and what do we have now? YouTubers that are jumping on crocodiles and free handling venomous snakes and things like that just for views, which I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, I try not to do this channel that way.
Anyway, Ram worked at the Serpentarium 10 years before I did, and he moved from Florida to India, and he opened up the Madras Crocodile Bank and Snake Trust in Madras, India. And I think he did that in the 70s. Anyway, I've become friends with him. My family and his family, we stay together. My family travels to India, stay with him. They come here and stay with us. So Ram is a good resource, and Ram is totally a pioneer in his field. And Ram is the ultimate king cobra biologist. He studied them back when nobody else did, and we know so much about king cobras right now thanks to Ram. And not only Ram, but what happens is a lot of people work under Ram and myself, and just like I said with Mike Lorette, he took what I know and he took it another couple notches up. That's what's happening with Ram and his pupils, so to speak. And now all the guys, there's Gauri Shankar, there's Ajay Giri, Murthy. There's a bunch of guys in India working with kings that at one point or another tutored under Ram. So, so we're kind of like I said, the old pioneers laying our eggs all over, and and hopefully these kids listen to us. They wish they listened to us.
This part of the conversation has me thinking that a really good episode would be the history of some of these people, and between Bill Haast, Ron Whitaker,
if people are
Ross
interested
Allen.
in that, we're not free handling rattlesnakes and cobras, so you're not going to get that many views. Sorry.
Well, again, this is an educational channel.
Good.
My goal is to not only teach people about crocodilians, but also bring to light the need for conservation.
Good.
We met first at Croc Fest, if you remember. That was last year. And so, again, one of my goals when I'm done as a public school teacher is to go into either the zoo field, conservation field, and have some impact and hopefully be able to contribute as much as, probably not as much with the time I have left, but be part of it.
Every little bit you contribute, anybody contributes is good. And for me, my goal would be to leave more people trained to do better than I have done.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal. Conservation, and I'm big on fundraising for valid projects. You know, I'm a firm believer in what I call practical conservation, which is you're going to see results right away.
Right.
I've been on so many projects where you catch the iguana or the snake, you got to weigh it and measure it and sex it. And, okay, that's all fine and dandy. But with the rapidly depleting wildness in the world these days, we need more than that. We need to teach the local people, wherever these animals are, that they're valuable. And how could I, you know, from the USA, go to a country, let's just Jamaica, and tell them what to do and then leave? No,
Right.
no, that's not right. I go to Jamaica. It took 20 years to get to the level we are. And when I started going to Jamaica, we were training these kids, Jamaican, they live in Jamaica. And now these kids are in their 30s and 40s, and they've climbed the ladder, and they're managers and directors of environmental organizations. So, what we lay 20 years prior maybe isn't fruitful, for a number of years. But if you give enough education to these guys and gals, then it's going to come back. Mhm.
No, definitely. The education is super important. Right now in New York, that's all I can do, but
Yeah,
we are
yeah.
trying, that's for sure. My wife says I'm in the wrong market. My artwork is mostly crocodilian or
Okay.
Florida type wildlife. It's a
Uh-huh.
place I wanted to move to ever since I was little, but ended up starting my career here, so I stayed here. But yeah, hoping when I get down there, even the artwork can help out a little
Oh,
bit more.
sure.
Speaking of artwork, I'm going to put you on a spot for a second. We talked about your King Cobra conservation organization. Do you remember I sent you a drawing I
Yes.
did?
Hmm. Hmm.
Whatever became of that? Did
We're going to have a big event, the King Cobra Conservancy, a fundraiser, and I'm going to bring those artwork for auction.
Oh, okay.
In,
Well,
in
let me
fact,
know if
there's
you need a better print. I don't remember which one I sent you because it was a while ago, but I'd be happy to
a King
improve the
Cobra and an
resolution and give
American
you a print
croc. Yeah,
quality.
there is going to be a conference in the Netherlands in March, I believe, and there's an a King Cobra conference in India, in Bangalore, India, in March, and then there's a reptile conference in the Netherlands, I think, in May, and we're going to have auctions, and I'll probably bring that stuff there.
Yeah, or reach out and see if we can even add some new
Yeah.
ones. And I'd
Cool.
be happy to help. And your experiences have obviously been varied and many, and I really appreciate you taking the time to
Good.
share them with us. The end message was perfect in terms of conservation. Not everybody's going to fall in love with the animals the way we do, but getting them to learn how to live.
Sure. And
Good.
it's kind of hard trying to save animals that kill people.
That's true. So speaking of that, maybe we can end with, since you have experience with both American alligators and American crocodiles, is there either one that could be considered more aggressive down in Florida?
No,
No.
no, you're asking the wrong guy about aggressive crocodiles. No, I've caught a dozen different species of crocodiles or more, and I don't want to say the easiest, but the most refined. I'm going to use that word. Once you get a rope on them, is an American croc. Of course, they're fast, they're strong, they're agile, but something about them when you're out in the airboat and you catch them, they say, oh no, you got me," and they just kind of uh, uh, I don't want to say give in, but more so than other crocs.
Right.
And you want to know the crocodilian species that's going to put up the biggest fight ever is a spectacled caiman. Let me tell you, I'd rather catch a 15-foot alligator than a 5-foot caiman in terms of getting beat up.
Oh yeah. I'd never caught a wild one. I've had a few in captivity, and it was a forearm workout, just grabbing
Oh,
that neck
man.
to keep a 3 to 4 footer from turning around and ripping your arm off compared to an alligator that'll sit like a puppy dog with very little restraint.
Right.
So,
and I even worked with black caiman in Guyana, and they're nowhere near as bad as a spectacled caiman.
it's like the Chihuahua syndrome. The little guys have to have all the
Yeah,
energy.
probably.
All right, Joe. Again, I appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you for your time. I'm going to stop
You're
recording.
welcome. I'm happy to be here for you.